Hello my friends, Paul here in the RoJoBe Music Workshop, and welcome to part 3 of the acoustic bridge removal and reattachment video series. And this is part of my new Luthier technique tutorial videos that I've decided to do for this year. So let me apologize again for the video voiceover. When I recorded these videos, I had no audio, and it turned out I didn't have my microphone plugged in properly. So I'm having to record these voiceovers using some software that I downloaded. So apologies for this, and also apologies for the watermark which is on these videos. I can't get rid of it without subscribing, and I'm not going to do that. So this series of videos about an acoustic guitar bridge removal and reattachment. In the first video you saw me score around the bridge with a scalpel before removing it, and then in the second video I glued it up and clamped it up, and as you can see here I've got a wooden wedge over this side because that corner of the bridge wasn't making full contact with the top of the guitar. So I just drove that little wedge in there just to push it down, and it did the job perfectly well. So this guitar has obviously been gluing up overnight. I think it was close to 24 hours before I got back to it. So you know, I took my time over reattaching this bridge and getting the clamps and everything. With the wood glue that I use, you have a lot of work time, you know, 20-30 minutes before it starts to set up. So in this video I'm going to be removing the clamps and just checking my work, make sure that I'm happy with the reattachment of this bridge. So let's crack on with this. First thing to do is to remove this wedge. So I just lightly tapped it in with a rubber mallet, so it's not under a great deal of pressure. So it'll just come out with a little bit of wiggling. Here we go. Out it comes. So now to remove the big clamp in the middle. Obviously I can't take the main clamp off without taking this off first. And next I'd undo the side thumb screws which hold the wings of the bridge down in place. Remove the little wooden piece and the leather pad. These clamps are really good, but you know, you need to make sure you use them properly, just like anything else. So I'm going to start to remove the wing nuts from the top. Just putting my Allen key in the bolt inside the guitar just to hold it in place while I undo these wing nuts. It's all quite tight, which is good. As I said before, you don't want to oversize these bridge pin holes because you know you won't be able to get the bridge pins in and holding properly afterwards. So I made sure I didn't open these holes up any. So wing nuts off, washers off, and then take the clamp off the top. And as I said, it's all fitting in there pretty tight, so I've got to use the Allen key to literally unscrew the bolts from the guitar. But at this point I'm just checking to make sure that the bridge has properly set and glued onto the top of the guitar, and it looks absolutely perfect at this stage. And obviously this edge is the most important because that's where it will lift, and sometimes you can't see if there's any gap in there. So what I do is I just get a piece of paper and just run it along the back edge and see if the paper slips underneath anywhere, and that will tell me if there are any areas where it's not completely down onto the top of the guitar. And I do find a tiny little piece just there where the paper just the corner of the paper slips under, but it's just where the surface is not going to be perfectly even, and sometimes you will get a tiny little gap, but it's so minimal. You can see just the corner of the paper slips under there. It's so minimal, it's not going to be an issue at all. All the rest of the bridge is properly glued and secured down onto the top of the guitar, so that tiny little gap isn't going to make any difference at all. It's just where, I guess it's where, you know, more of the glue had squeezed out and there was a slight deviation in either the surface of the bridge or the top of the guitar itself, leaving a tiny gap. But as I said, it's not going to be a problem at all. You know, obviously I'm recording this voiceover quite a while after I recorded the actual video itself. So at the time of recording this voiceover, the customer has had the guitar back quite a while, and they've not called me back. They've not come back in. So I know for certain that the job was successful, and they're perfectly happy with it. The bridge has not started lifting again. You know, these jobs, like any glue job really, if you do it properly the first time, you know, do all the preparation, the glue surfaces and everything else, there's absolutely no reason why the job should fail. And in this case, it didn't. You know, with any glue job, especially where you've got tension or pressure or strain on the joint, you know, all of the pre-work preparation is the most important. And, you know, if you do all that properly, you can guarantee your work. And that's what I do. I give all of my work a lifetime guarantee. So if any of the work that I've done to any instrument fails for any reason at any time, I will redo the job free of charge. I give a lifetime guarantee for my work. That's how confident I am in the work that I do. I give a lifetime guarantee. So even if it's 10 years later, if this bridge pops off again, that's down to me. So I will redo it again free of charge. And I think that's the key to good customer service is if you're confident in your own work, you should be able to, you know, rely on it 100% for life. And you can see that, you know, these Allen screws have given me a few problems coming out because they're so tight. But like I said, that's a good thing. So yeah, you know, with these jobs, as I said, especially where there's tension, you know, with the strings pulling up on the bridge, you've got to make sure you do the job right first time, or you are going to be doing it again, 100%. And you know, to give a guarantee to your work is just, you know, customer satisfaction. They know that if your work fails, they can bring it back, or, you know, if they know that if my work fails, they can bring it back to me, and I'm going to redo it again free of charge. So this Allen screw is almost out. Trust me. Yeah, I would rather these, you know, are tight coming out than loose. I know that I'm not going to have any problems with the bridge pins when I put them back in. It is really easy to oversize these holes too much because, you know, the bridge pins are held in by friction, literally. You know, they're a very light wedge, basically wedge shaped, and when you push them in, they're held in by friction. So if that hole is just even a fraction of a millimeter too big, it's not going to hold. Now, when you're using anything with threads, whether it's wood or metal, you know, over time the threads can get a bit sticky, a bit stiff. So what I like to do is I take a little piece of wax. In this case, it's paraffin wax, and I just kind of gently rub it over the threads, and that will keep them lubricated and, you know, moving freely all the time. I'm using paraffin wax. You can use beeswax or candle wax, or you know, even things like Vaseline, something like that, but that will not last, whereas this paraffin wax will, you know, last a long time. And as I said, you can use beeswax or candle wax, anything like that, and any kind of wax, and then you know, it keeps the threads lubricated and moving freely. And especially, as I said, for something that you use regularly, screwing in and out all the time, you want to make sure that your threads are lubricated. And, you know, doing this now, before I use it the next time, I know that when I come to use this clamp the next time, it's going to be, you know, nice and free. It's going to, the screws are going to move in and out nice and freely. So just a little, you know, it's always a good idea to not only prepare in advance for any jobs you do, but take care of your tools and your equipment, you know, because they're the things that you do the jobs with. So if they're working right, then everything else is going to be right. So that is the bridge nicely attached. I'm really happy with the work. And as I said, you know, since recording this, the customer has received it back, and they're happy as well. So that's all good. Now, before I put the strings back on this guitar, and I do this with all of the jobs I do like this, I'm going to give the guitar a good clean first. It's not actually part of the job, but I just think it's good customer service. So I've got this kind of foam abrasive pad. It's not aggressive. It's probably about, I don't know, 240 grit, something like that. And I'll use this just to go over the frets, just to clean them up. It doesn't need a fret job. It doesn't need fret leveling or anything like that. The frets just need cleaning up. They're all grimy and, you know, dark and dull. And if anybody plays guitar and they bend strings, you really do want nice, clean, shiny frets. So I'm just using this abrasive pad just to clean the frets. And actually it does clean the fretboard as well. You know, you always want to have nice clean frets. This area of the fretboard isn't so important, but nearer the headstock is you know, where most people play most of the time, and especially, you know, the amateurs. And this is by no means a professional guitar, but always make sure I clean all of the frets. So it didn't need a lot. They were just a little bit grimy. So just a rub over with the abrasive pad, and then using a brush just to remove all the dust and debris. And then, you know, all I do with this one, and with most of them, to be honest, is I just take a piece of this clean piece of this workshop towel, a little bit of, it says H2O, but there's a tiny little bit of soap in there, so it's very mildly soapy water. Just spray a little bit on the cloth, and then wipe the guitar over. Not soaking wet, just damp. And as you can see, as I'm wiping this over, the water is almost immediately evaporating. You don't want your guitar wet. So I just use this mildly soapy water, just lightly sprayed onto a clean workshop paper towel, wiping over the surface, and it removes all the dirt and dust, finger marks and that kind of thing. And you know, it's just a good idea just to make sure you know, clean everything up before sending it back to the customer. So that's the top done. Doing the sides as well. And this guitar wasn't really bad, but it, you know, it had dirt and dust and finger marks and things. You know, guitars always get pretty dirty, especially when they're being played. So, you know, just a wipe over. Sometimes with some of the guitars or other instruments, I will give them a polish as well, a beeswax polish. But this one didn't really need it. It wasn't that bad. And, you know, the surface is quite scratched and everything all over. It's not going to win any awards for its beauty. But, you know, just a general wipe over with mildly soapy water, just to remove the worst of the marks. On the back of the neck as well, obviously that gets quite dirty from your hands. And you can already see, just by giving it a wipe over with mildly soapy water, it already looks a lot better. It's quite shiny, you know, it's quite a nice gloss finish on it. And as I said, this particular one didn't need any extra polishing or anything like that. Just a wipe over, and it looks 10 times better already. It's just a little bit of attention to detail, you know, going that extra mile for the customer. I do this on every job I do. I always do more than they actually pay me for. But you know, this I think should just be standard. Just give their instrument a clean before they get it back, so that they can see that you've taken some care over it, you know, and made sure that it's in a presentable condition when you return it. So with it all now wiped over and nicely clean, the next thing to do is to oil the fretboard and the bridge. It is a good idea. This is what I just used, boiled linseed oil. And I've had this bottle for about 4 years and I still haven't used it all up because you only need a very tiny amount. But it is a good idea to oil your fretboard and your bridge, not too regularly, but obviously the more you play, the more you should, you know, do this. So a little drop on the cloth, that's all you need. Literally not even half a teaspoonful. So I'm starting with the bridge in this case, just giving it a wipe over with the oil. So make sure you get all the way around the edges and over the top. And then the fretboard as well. So using just that same little drop of oil, I've done the bridge and now I'm doing the fretboard as well. You do not need a lot, because the more you wipe on, the more excess you've got to wipe off afterwards. You only need enough that's going to wipe over the surface and actually seep into the wood. So once that's done, put the oil back on the cap back on the oil so I don't spill it. Then you take a clean cloth or a clean part of the cloth and just wipe off the excess. So you leave it a minute or two just to soak in. You don't need any more than that. Any excess that remains on the surface is not going to soak in, so you give it a good wipe, remove all the excess, because obviously if you leave it on there, it's going to go a bit sticky, it's going to attract dust and dirt, and it'll actually look and feel worse than it did before. So always make sure you remove all of the excess to the point of it looking kind of dry. So then I just get another clean cloth and just kind of polish around the edge of the bridge, just where there might be any smear marks from the oil. So just removing that, just giving that a final polish, and that's the guitar just about ready, done, prepared for attaching the new strings. And as I said before, you know, I'm going to use electric guitar strings on this guitar. So I've got this one here. It's quite a fairly cheap brand, well, a very cheap brand. Just generic electric guitar strings, gauge 10. I can't see from here. 1042, I think. So quite a very light gauge, and they will be ideal for this guitar. And you know, they will look and sound absolutely fine on this guitar. You won't notice the difference. So you know, these are the strings I'm going to be putting on this guitar, which will be in a standalone video. It's going to be a separate video of restringing and an acoustic guitar. So that's going to be in the next video. So, you know, once again, like I said, I just want to apologize for having to do these voiceovers. I mean, it was a stupid thing on my part. You know, when I recorded the videos, I didn't check that I had the microphone plugged in properly, and therefore I recorded 4 videos without any audio. And it was a pain. It's happened before, but because there was 4 videos that I had recorded without any audio, I needed to do something. I needed to, you know, not waste these videos. So I downloaded some software, managed to find some free download software for voiceovers. Not ideal, and voiceover recording is a bit of an art, and I don't really have the skills for it right now, but I'm doing my best. And you know, as I said, because I'm using this voiceover software, we've got the watermark on the screen as well, which is a pain. But you know, it is what it is. The only way I could get this watermark removed is by subscribing to this software at a minimum of $10 per month. Well, I'm not prepared to do that because this is not something I'm going to be using very often. I just needed to use it for these videos because I didn't want to waste them. But you know, future videos I will make sure I've got my microphone plugged in properly, so that I'm recording, you know, as recording voice as I'm, you know, recording what I'm doing as well. So as I said, the next video will be restringing this guitar. So it's going to be a Luthier technique tutorial on restringing an acoustic guitar. And you know, the same principles apply to most other instruments. You know, sometimes the technique will change slightly, but that's what that one's going to be about. So looking forward to presenting that one to you. In the meantime, please look after yourselves, look after each other. We will see you soon. Peace out.